served on a bed of roasted eggplant puree. And also, we're going to make like a veggie rice. Before I get started, I also do want to remind that, yes, exactly, our facility host, you guys make sure you hit the record button so we have a recording of today's session as well on our YouTube channel if anybody misses tonight's session. So I have my ingredients prepared. What I'm going to do for our lentil balls, we're going to use red lentils, 1 cup. So I'm going to wash them real quick. I'm going to go in and out of the camera sometimes a little bit, but I'm hoping that you can hear me. And drain these real quick.
Iram is saying he also has one of those scarves that you have on you.
Oh yeah.
And he also uses that one when when they're cooking too.
That's great. Yep. Yeah. So every Turkish woman pretty much has one of these at home.
Okay.
So 1 cup of red lentils goes into a pot, and to that one, I'm going to add 3 cups of water. So and turn my heat on. So this lentils, we're going to wait basically to boil and get really mushy. And the water, it's going to soak most of the water in it, but it will have just a little bit. I'll show you when it's ready. But I turn it on. I'm not covering the lid, and I have to remind myself to turn the heat down a little bit afterwards, because otherwise it will actually, spill and go overboard a little bit. So I'm not going to cover it with a lid, just let it boil for a while. While that's getting ready, we're going to do some multitasking. So at the same time, I'm actually going to start the stew, the lamb stew, on the other side. You don't necessarily have to use a pressure cooker for this, but being a working, lady, I try to make things faster. So I tend to use pressure cookers. It makes the meat cook much faster. I've even seeing the chat questions from here. Farai, you might not need to read them for me because I'm so close. My kitchen is not too big. So I saw Aaron's question. No, you don't need to pre-soak the lentils. The red lentils that we use in Turkey, they're quite tiny. They cook very fast. So it's not like chickpeas or navy beans, dry beans, or anything like that that requires pre-soaking. So you just wash them, throw it in the pot, and then let it boil for about 10-15 minutes. Okay, so to for my stew, I'm going to add about 2-3 tablespoons of olive oil. So just like a lot of the other cultures, we use a lot of olive oil in the Turkish cuisine as well, but we also use butter. So we're going to use butter tonight too. In terms of the cuisine, the kinds of things that we're making today. So a lot of you, if you've been to any of the Turkish restaurants in the city, it's a lot of kebabs and lahmacuns and, pide, that kind of thing. A lot of meat stuff, but on a day-to-day basis, we don't actually eat that much meat. So while we're making the stew, although tonight it's just a lamb-based stew, I'll also give you hints of the same procedure how we use the same procedure to make our daily veggie mixes. There are veggie stews or veggie soups that would make our regular cuisine on a day in and day out basis. So I put my oil in there. Let me turn down Just a little bit. Okay. So in the recipes, I posted the recipes online. I have a little bit more meat than the recipe that I wrote. So rather than one chopped onion, I'm putting about 1.5 because my meat is about, the recipe is multiplied by about 1.5. So I'm going to add the onions. And stir fry in here a little bit. So this procedure that we're doing, as I said, this is basically the base for all of our everyday cooking. We cook a lot with onions, tomatoes, and then a combination of meat and vegetables. So we start by stir frying the onions a little bit. Not for too long. We don't want to burn them. And I'm not like caramelizing them right now. Just a little bit stir frying them. Now while that's getting ready, so the dish that we're making today, Hunkar Begendi, traditionally it's made with lamb. That's why today I'm also making it with lamb. But in a lot of homes, a lot of people don't, even in Turkey, they don't always like the lamb meat, so they make the same dish with just beef. So this is leg of lamb, no bones, and they're chopped into like small cubes, small pieces. So they're not like, if you go out and buy beef for stew in Canada or the US, the chunks are usually a lot bigger. The one that we use is a little bit smaller, so they're cut into small pieces. So I'm going to add my meat now. I kind of mix it up. And we're going to wait until, again, the juices, the water from the meat kind of come out and then evaporate before we start adding the other ingredients. Now, while I'm waiting for the meat, I will tell you a little bit about the story of this dish. Hunkar Begendi, if you translate it into English, it actually means His Majesty liked it. Why was it named that way? It's an odd name, and we have a lot of dishes that have really funny names. This specific one has a story, and I chose this dish for tonight specifically because we're the Edmonton Intercultural Center. It's about the connections and interactions between cultures, and this specific dish is actually a result of something like that. It's partly a myth. We don't know how true the story is, but technically they say that during the Ottoman era, one of the sultans, Sultan Abdulaziz, had invited Napoleon III and his wife Eugenie to the Ottoman palace, some kind of state visit happening, etc. But Napoleon himself didn't come for whatever reason, so the queen came, but she came with her entourage, so she brought in her own cooks from France. And in France, basic white sauce, like similar to bechamel sauce, cooked with butter and flour and milk or cream. That's a common, widely used base or sauce they use for a lot of their cooking. So the queen's own chefs were in the kitchen making this sauce, and the sultan's chefs, they saw it and they looked at it, and then they added some roasted eggplants in it, made this roasted eggplant base, and then served it with some lamb stew. And they brought it to the Ottoman Sultan, and the Sultan really liked it. So they called the dish Sultan liked it, or His Majesty liked it. That's why it's called that way. So that's the story behind it. So what we're eating tonight is actually an interaction between the French cuisine and the traditional Turkish cuisine. So my meat still needs to, get out its juices and be stirred a little bit. And in the meantime, my lentils have started to boil, but they still have a long ways to cook. I had turned it down a little bit, so heat it up. So far, those of you that haven't joined us for our previous events, I've been, of course, moderating some, so I'm watching the kinds of ingredients others are using. The red lentils, Tigist in her lentil soup, she used red lentils as well in the Ethiopian Eritrean cuisine, so that was a surprise for me. I know a lot of, in Indian cuisine, red lentils are used a lot too, and probably Pakistani too, maybe Aram. I know Aram is online, she can tell us, but Turkish cuisine, we use red lentils a lot, mostly for soups, and then this appetizer that I'm talking about, but we use a lot of beans and lentils and chickpeas as well. But what differentiates the cuisines, I think, is afterwards the kinds of spices that you use. So, and in Turkey, the spices that we use actually do differ a lot because of the history, again, the back history, the connections with the Ottoman Empire, which was so large for so long and interacted with so many cultures. Turkish cuisine is very, very rich. It's also impacted by the climate. What's left of Turkey right now, I mean, today's Turkey, it's slightly larger than Alberta, but in that amount of space, we have a very, very diverse climate. Eastern parts of Turkey are almost as cold as Alberta, most of the time with 6-month winters, etc. Very dry climate. But then also south coast of Turkey or the Aegean coast, they may never see snow in their lives. So it's a very warmer and humid climate over there. And northern Turkey is much like maybe Vancouver and Seattle with a lot of rain and clouds, etc. So what they have access to and the weather conditions impact what they eat a lot. So I'm from kind of northwestern part of Turkey, closer to the seaside. So we eat a lot of fish. And the dishes that we make, we usually use mild spices, not too strong and heavy spices. So our meat is getting ready slowly. Let me know if you have questions. And in terms of the ingredients, red lentils, again, in a lot of the ethnic cuisines, red lentils are available in a lot of places. I buy mine usually from one of the Lebanese or Turkish stores. My favorite Turkish store unfortunately burned down, and the one that's open right now, the big one, is a little far away from where I live, so I don't always go there. But I order online from Turkish stores or pick up from like a Lebanese store, Al Safadi or Westgate, a lot of the times. So they usually carry the Turkish ingredients. So the red lentils afterwards, once they're ready, we're going to add what we call bulgur wheat. Bulgur is actually cracked wheat. For this specific recipe, we use a very fine one, a very thin one, because we won't even cook this. Once the lentils are done, I'm going to turn off the heat and just add these, and they will cook in the steam of whatever's left from the red lentils. So this is bulgur wheat, but the fine one. That's what we're going to use for our appetizer. There's also bulgur wheat that's much coarser and thicker. This one we make pilaf, or a form of rice. So that's a different kind. So my meat is almost ready for evaporating all its juices. at my lentils. They need a few more minutes. Maybe I can turn on the heat a little bit right now. Needs a few more minutes. So to the meat, while we're making the meat, at this point, after the meat again soaks all its juices, I am going to add some chopped green peppers. Now, the green peppers we use in Turkey are actually different than the bell peppers that are in Canada. Most of the time, I can't find the Turkish peppers in Canada. The one that's actually closest to the Turkish peppers are cubanella peppers, because the ones that we use for cooking, especially again my side of the country, you don't really eat like hot pepper. It's just the flavor of it. So cubanella are not too spicy. My husband loves the spicy version, with jalapenos and all kinds of hot peppers. But for me, I like the milder ones. So today I was able to find cubanella peppers. I'm going to use those. If you can't find them, you can use bell peppers, green bell peppers. So I'm ready to add my peppers into this one. So I used, because they were the cubanella ones, I used one full one. If you're using a bell pepper, probably just half of it is enough. Mix it up a little bit. Okay, my lentils are almost ready.
Okay, see, there's somebody here asking a question. I don't know, can you see the chat?
I saw the question, but it disappeared, so you need to read it to me now.
Okay, there's somebody asking, they're saying, I am close to a Lebanese market. Can I find those peppers there? And
The cubanella peppers, I actually find them at the Italian centers most of the time. Lebanese markets, I haven't really looked for them there, but they might be. But cubanella peppers, usually I find them at the Italian center. I live so close to the one on the south side, so that's usually where I find them.
okay, yeah, they were saying also they can find them at Superstore either.
Yeah, sometimes even Superstore, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so to my lamb stew, I am now adding, normally per our recipe, 2 chopped tomatoes, but again, as I said, I have a little bit more meat, so I put about 2.5. So these are again finely chopped tiny pieces of tomatoes. So on this up. Okay, that's my kettle. That's boiling water's down. Bear with me for a minute.
There's another question for you.
Another question?
Somebody needed clarification if is that a type of a pressure cooker that you're using for the lamb?
Yeah, it's a pressure cooker, exactly. If they joined later, And you don't need to use a pressure cooker. It will just take longer to cook the meat.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because I'm working, coming home late, this speeds up the process for cooking the meat, and it turns out to be quite soft. So I like to use pressure cookers. So it's a pressure cooker. But you don't have to, if it's not a pressure cooker, you'll just have to, once it's ready, simmer it down, and then Instapot. I've never used an Instapot. I used just the basic stuff. Pressure cooker and a blender are the most used equipment in my kitchen. So I haven't used an Instapot at all.
In that regards, I was going to ask myself a question. What is your favorite gadget in the kitchen?
What's my what?
What's your favorite gadget in the kitchen?
My favorite gadget is a blender.
Oh,
Like a hand blender, because a lot of the soups, my son doesn't eat a lot of things, so I make soups that are blended creamy. So I use it a lot. Not I haven't added. I saw somebody's question about the cracked wheat. Not yet. So I'm going to turn off the heat a little bit for my meat. So my lentils are ready. So I will actually do just that right now. So for my lentils, I'll show you how they look right now. See, they're kind of mushy, but just a little bit water left in them actually. So I have turned off the heat. I'm going to add the fine cracked wheat now. Put the bulgur wheat in it. Mix it up.
There's a few more questions for you, Sim.
Yeah.
There's a two more questions for you. Somebody's asking, have you added is it bulgur?
The bulgur wheat. So I've just added it right now.
Okay. And somebody also asked, did you boil the water of the lentils?
Yeah, so exactly. So the red lentils, I added just cold water, 3 cups of cold water, and then it boiled with the lentils for about 20 minutes right now. So the lentils are ready, all mushy, and most of the water has evaporated and soaked in the lentils. So there's very little water left in the lentils, but the bulgur that I'm using is so fine and thin that it doesn't need to cook and boil in the water. I've just added the cracked wheat into the lentils right now, and I'm just moving it aside. It's just going to wait and rest there. And with the steam, the cracked wheat is actually going to cook with that one. Okay. And as far as, yeah, almost, we're just going to do, add the other ingredients into that one. There's only just the onions we're going to add that's going to be cooked into this later on. But everything else is just fresh veggies afterwards. So for the appetizer, this is the only part that we're cooking. So in terms of my stew, again, all I have done right now, to give you a recap, I kind of stir-fried some chopped onions, added meat. In this case, we're making a lamb stew, so I added quite a lot of meat, and then some green peppers and some chopped tomatoes. Now, if I wasn't making the dish that I was making tonight, and I used much less meat, our regular day-to-day food, we don't eat that much meat at all. I would use maybe 1/4, 1/5 of what I'm using right now. But with what I have done so far, the same base, I'll go to my fridge, see what I've got. I have, for instance, some green beans, Romano beans, in my fridge that are frozen. I could just add these into the meat base, whether it's beef or lamb, and cook these with the vegetables and the tomato sauce. I'll add a little bit tomato paste afterwards as well. And basic spices we use essentially are just black pepper, and sometimes based on what veggies we're using, it could be cumin, it could be paprika for some spice, etc. But so it could be this one, green beans. I could add like a green pea carrot mix, and after these are cooked a little bit, we also add cubed potatoes maybe. So that's another dish with green peas. So it's the same process. You do the same basics, the level that I got so far, and then you add your veggies. You add some water with the tomato sauce and the spices that you like, and that's your daily Turkish food essentially. Those are the kinds of things that we make. So it could be with peas, it could be with okra. It could be just with potatoes, so it's like a potato and beef or lamb stew kind of thing. So different kinds of veggies. That's our meal every day. So for our stew, this is another ingredient we use. Yeah, we eat it with rice and or bread, actually. I mean, we also eat rice too, but if I'm not mistaken, Turkish people might be consuming the most amount of bread in the world. So all these dishes that we make in US and Canada, most people would probably call them soups because they're going to have a lot of sauce and like juicy stuff. So people kind of dunk their bread in it with their forks and eat it. One ingredient we use a lot in the Turkish cuisine is this thing called the pepper paste. So tomato paste and pepper paste, we usually mix them and combine them. So rather than adding the like powdered red pepper, spicy pepper, this is actually a slightly hot and spicy one. So I'm going to add a small half a tablespoon to this. And I'm going to add, same way, about 2/3 of a spoon. Pepper paste, again, the Lebanese markets, the Turkish markets, they all have them. And sometimes Italian center also. So I'm adding that one. I'm going to add some water. Boiling water right now. Not too much. And now the hot pepper will give it some, a brand of pepper paste. There's not too many choices in Canada, unfortunately. There's this one called burcu. The roasted eggplants are going to be this. I mean, you can have the same brand. There's burcu. And these are the eggplants right now, but they might also have a pepper paste. So those are the two brands, and they're fine, both of them. So in addition to the red pepper paste, I'm just going to add some black pepper to my stew. And just turn on the one in the back. I'm just going to move that out of the way once I close it off. It's already kind of boiling. I can turn this down and move this to the back. Oops. All right. So let me put these out of the way.
I think we also missed a question there.
Sure.
Iram was asking, what is the name of this meal? Oh, there's
Not the meal, but the pepper paste. I told it. Yeah, the pressure cooker, they were asking me, because it's already boiling, I didn't have to wait long. What's inside is already boiling, so I already put it down so it can build, the steam can build the pressure already. I didn't need to wait long, but I turn it down to a very low temperature right now. So it's going to wait in the pressure cooker, cook for about 15-20 minutes. Okay. Now, while we're waiting for that one, again, multitasking. We can't quite start our appetizer right now because with the lentils need to, again, with the steam, they need to, I mean, not the lentils, the cracked wheat, need to cook in the steam of that one. So this needs to rest for about, 15-20 minutes. And it's also cooling down a little bit because we'll end up mixing it up. It might get too hot to need the paste. Okay, so I'm going to, while we're waiting, I'm going to start with the rice actually while the lamb stew is cooking. So Turkish rice, a lot of people have different preferences in terms of rice. I think most of the time Turkish people use either the long grain or the calrose one. I like the calrose rice. The trick usually is whatever you like because different rices kind of require different amounts of water. I use the Uncle Tom's brand, so I know kind of the proportions, etc. So I'm using 2 cups of rice. I'm going to wash these and actually soak them in hot water a little bit. So wait for that. And then I realized I did not get my veggies. So these ones I showed you for the stew before, that's what we're going to use today. I just have a pea and carrot mix frozen in my fridge most of the time. So if you like this same rice, you can add corn as well, frozen corn. So I'm going to have 1 cup of this. I'll put it on the side.
Hey, Sim, I think we missed the question here. Afra was asking, what is the name of this meal? I'm sure you said it before, but...
Oh, the meal, I did. So in Turkish, the lamb stew that I'm making, the way we pronounce it is Hunkar Begendi. Hunkar Begendi, again, translated into English, it means His Majesty liked it. But it's just lamb stew on eggplant. And then the lentil balls that we're making in Turkish, we call it mercimek köftesi, which means lentil. The way we call it is not balls actually in Turkish, köfte. It's in a lot of the Middle Eastern cuisine. They're like some kind of ground beef patties. That's a name for that one. So this one is the vegetarian version of köfte. So it's called the mercimek köfte in Turkish. So we'll need about 1 cup of the veggies. And maybe a little bit more. Here's too little for me. This out of the way. So for our rice, we don't use rice cookers in Turkey. And most of the time we like to use more of a flatter based pan and a non-stick pan. And let me just drain my rice real quick. You can soak them for a little bit longer, but for now we're a little bit in a rush. I'll just wash them and drain them. Okay, so just wash my rice. Let it drain a little bit. To my rice, I'm going to use a combination of butter and vegetable oil. I'm going to put about, I'm not going to use this whole thing, about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. About 1 spoon of butter. A bit more. When you have guests, you put more butter. Putting more butter is like, I don't know, being a good hostess, I think. That's how Turkish people think. It might not be too healthy, but it tastes yummy. So I'm going to melt this butter in here. The vegetable oil. It's kind of like, I don't know how, well, I'll have to wait for the Chinese cuisine. I don't know if it's fried rice is similar to this, but after soaking our rice, we actually again stir fry them in this butter and oil mix a little bit.
Sim,
Uh-huh.
Brad is asking, is this a fried rice or pilaf?
Well, in Turkish, I don't know the difference. For us, all of these things are called pilav. Rice, we in Turkey, we call pilav. Like for us, the actual grain has a different name. It's called pirinç, and the process of cooking is what makes it a pilav. So if you make it with the pirinç grain and you cook with this process, it becomes a pirinç pilav. And if you make it with cracked wheat, I was almost burning my butter. So,
Sorry about that.
If you make it with cracked wheat, then it becomes a bulgur pilav. So that whole combination, we call all of them pilav. But in terms of a process, like most people make the rice in this kind of a pot, but whether they choose to kind of stir them a little bit in butter and oil, that's a choice. Some families, they won't do the frying at all. They'll just add the water right away. I like to fry it just a little bit. So it's actually quite easy, this vegetable rice. I'm mixing it up. This specific Calrose rice, it likes like a 1.5 ratio of water. And normally my recipe called for water, but a lot of the times, again, something we learned from our, mothers or grandmothers at home is always when we have meat, like from the lamb, whether it's the bones or the fatty parts, etc., we usually quickly make, boil them and make a broth of our own. So just I'm going to use the broth from the lamb today, actually. So that's about enough frying, mixing, really. So I'm going to add some salt, maybe a tablespoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. Okay. And here's my broth from the lamb. So I'm going to add not just the broth, I'll use 1 cup of this. A little bit more. And 2 cups of boiling water. So I have 2 cups of rice. So in total, there's 3 cups of water or broth. And then I'm just gonna go add these frozen vegetables right inside, really. Mix them up a little bit. So because the veggies are there frozen, I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit initially, but then turn it really, really low. I'm covering the lid. I'll need my butter again in a few minutes, so put it aside. Out of the way. So the next thing, while this one is cooking, I'm going to prepare the only other piece that's going to go into the appetizer, the lentil balls thing, that's going to be cooked, which is again some onions. Once again, will be stir fried in olive oil with tomato paste and pepper paste. So I'm going to prepare that one right now. Add some olive oil. About 2 tablespoons. That's going to be the one that will be cooked with the onions. But later on, we might need to put some into the paste of lentils and bulgur wheat too, because it's going to be quite dry. So it likes olive oil. So it depends on how much oil that you like. So in total, I think we will put about 3/4 fourths of a small. We call them teacups. So about that much oil. So my rice right now with the frozen veggies, it's already starting to boil. So I'm going to turn this really low and let that cook really quickly. Cook really slowly, not quickly. Okay, so then let's see. Our onions for lentil balls. So with the 1 cup lentils, 1 cup cracked wheat, it's 1 onion, so it's not too hard to remember the recipe. 1 chopped onion, again, finely chopped onions. Go into my pot, my frying pan. So we're going to stir fry the onions. Okay, and I'll check my lentil mix real quick. Yeah, not bad. Okay, again, we're going to use our pepper paste. 1 tablespoon, but pretty kind of full one, hey? So if you don't like it very spicy. You can make it just with tomato paste. Down a little bit. And again, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. More. That out of the way. Mix that up. I'll add just a tiny bit of water. So the tomato paste and pepper paste is cooking just a little bit with the onions now. How much water we add to the onion and tomato paste mix kind of depends on the texture of our lentil and cracked wheat mix. If it's too dry, you might want to keep some water in the tomato mix so it blends well with the others. So mine is not so bad right now, but I think it can take a little bit water. So in the end, once you add the tomato mix, you don't want it to be too soft, but you don't want it to be too dry either. So to this mixture right now, I'm going to add cumin. Cumin is another spice we use in Turkish cuisine a lot. About half, I mean, actually, it's usually probably a teaspoon, not even that much. But again, it depends on how much you like the cumin flavor. Some people like it more, some people like it less. So put a little bit for that one. Lentils go well with mint in our cuisine, so I'm also going to add a little bit of dry mint. Where did I put my black pepper? I'll also put some black pepper.
Sim, there's another question for you. Sorry to disturb you. From
Oh, no
Brad.
problem.
Brad is asking, in Asian cuisine, pork and chicken meat is most commonly used. In Turkish cuisine, is it lamb?
Yes and no. Traditionally, maybe in the old days, lamb was more popular, but not as much these days. For us, lamb is just like Somalian almost. It's a special event meal. So for Eid, people do, you know, qurbani, whether it's again a cow or a ram, a lamb. But that's when we have our refrigerators stacked with lamb at that time of the year around Eid time. But other than that, like on a day-to-day basis, this same meal that we're making last week, and when I did a trial run for today, I made it with beef and it tastes just as fine. Most of the time people will make it with beef. So I would say the thing that we eat most is beef and chicken.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this one is ready. I'm going to add this to the lentil and cracked bulgur wheat mix right now. and mix that up a little bit. As I said, this will need, I don't want to boil or burn that one. So this will require some more olive oil, probably about 3 tablespoons. Mix it up. But once again, we're going to leave it on the side to cool a little bit, because when we add the fresh vegetables, we're actually going to mix it up with hand and shape it with our hands. So I'm going to leave it on the side and let it cool a little bit. And my rice actually is done. I'm going to turn it off and get some paper towels. Also get out of the way. And that's it. So our rice is ready. We usually leave it like this, resting with a paper towel, kind of steam absorbing the rice furthermore for about 10-15 minutes before we serve it. While our lamb stew is cooking, I will now go to the roasted eggplant base. Now, if you want to be really good and make everything from fresh, of course, you can roast the eggplants from scratch yourself. So what you need to do if you want to roast them by yourself, you need to kind of poke holes in these a little bit ahead of time. For this recipe, probably you will need about 4 of these. And then you lay them down in a tray with wax paper underneath and put it in the oven. You can roast it in the oven, or you can smoke them like on a barbecue if you like. But about 30-35 minutes, probably in 350-360 degrees. You can roast them ahead of time. And then once they're soft from the tray, you can stretch film it. That makes it easier to peel the eggplants. But I'm a little bit of a lazy lady, so the practical version is you get one of these. They actually sell roasted eggplants again in the stores, the Lebanese stores, Italian Center. I got this one from Italian Center today. Now, this one already has some other ingredients in it, like garlic, etc. So this recipe, the eggplant base, you could put garlic in it, but since my roasted eggplants already have them, I'm not going to put any more garlic in it. So for our I need to make sure I have my other pot to make that one. Get in here. So for our eggplant base, again, because it's that combination of the French recipe, hey, we're actually going to use butter one more time. The combination of French and the Ottoman cuisine. So I'm going to use like 2 tablespoons of butter. And use about 2 or 3 tablespoons of flour, again from a trial and error. You can try the different variations of the recipe. If you want it more creamy and the white sauce feely, you can increase the flour amount. If you like the taste of those roasted eggplants and you want them to be more upfront, you can use less of the flour. So I'm going to mix that. A little bit. I don't necessarily want to burn it, but just get the flour smell out of it. Cook it just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get this out of there a little bit. So this eggplant, let me see if I can get the trick in looking it up. So my eggplant in from a jar, I'll just dump it in. Mix it up with the flour. And as I said, my meat is a little bit more than my original recipe. And I want to take some of this tomorrow for my colleagues. So I'm actually putting just a little bit more than the ratios that I have given you. So I'm not doubling, but increasing the amount a little bit. So this is just a different brand of the eggplant. Same thing, just in a different jar. About half of this one too. Mix it up. So it mixes well with the flour. Put it back on the heat.
I just want to say thank you to Afra. He is saying Turkish cuisine uses lamb and cow meat, cow and chicken meat. Commonly, you can find all Turkish products in Turkish, Italian, Greek, and all Arabic stores.
Yeah. Yeah, Afra is someone from our community, so I didn't realize she joined in. Thank you, Afra, for watching us tonight.
Thank you, Afra.
A lot of these ladies are much better cooks than I am, so they'll have to tell me if I did a good job afterwards.
Say you're welcome.
So to the mixture, I'm adding, this is a bigger cup. I probably don't need to add the full amount, but about a cup of milk. So we're making the white sauce in a way, but we added the eggplants, the roasted eggplants in it ahead of time. So it's almost like, you know, mashed potatoes, but made with roasted eggplant. That's going to be the base for the stew.
Afra says you're better than me at cooking. She says she doesn't know how to make the Hunkar Begendi like you, I guess. I just wanted to ask you about this Hunkar Begendi meal. Is this something you're like trained as a kid growing up to make? Or?
No, I just found the recipe online, and and especially this dish, as I said in the beginning, It's called from the Ottoman cuisine. So the old Ottoman palace, of course, it was in Istanbul. You know, that's the royal capital of the Ottoman Empire. So they just like Canada, they were actually like in Istanbul. It was a melting pot. It's a melting pot of cultures, Muslim cultures. There were Italian and Europeans, everybody living there, etc. So and in the palace, all of those different cuisines kind of mixed up, and they invented a lot of new dishes as well. So in Turkey, especially in Istanbul, there are restaurants or dishes, and they will advertise them as the Ottoman cuisine. But a lot of people in my country, if you weren't born on that side of the country, like some people, when I did our trial run the other day, they tried this for the first time in their lives. Whereas because I'm closer to that side of the country, my mom used to make this, and then, you know, she didn't necessarily teach me how to make it. And she passed away about 3 years ago. So like, I like it. So I found the recipe, tried it, and I like it. And it's easy to make, especially because we can find this roasted eggplant ingredient in Canada. I don't need to roast eggplant from scratch. So that's pretty good. Now, one thing I did not do with my ingredients is that I didn't do my mozzarella. I didn't buy the shredded mozzarella. I have some cheese in the fridge, so I'll have to shred that real quick. So again, this thing, like in terms of salt, I haven't put salt in the meat yet, because that's again a tip my mom used to teach. I don't know if it has validity, but she used to tell me if you put the salt in the meat ahead of time too early, it will make the meat harder. So then I'm gonna cook the meat, and once the pressure is gone and I open it up, I'm gonna add the salt to that one later. And then salt to this one. The roasted eggplants, the can already has some salt, so be careful. I'm not gonna put salt in it right now, and then anybody can add salt, you know, to their liking afterwards. So where my shredder is.
There's another question for you, Sim.
Sure.
Karen is asking, this looks like a lot of food. How many would you say this will serve?
Oh, this amount will probably serve at least 8. And the lentil bowls, when we make it, because it's an appetizer, out of this pot, we'll probably have like 50 or so lentil bowls. So it's gonna stay in the fridge for the next few days to eat. So it's not necessarily to be served with the meal. And these lentil bowls, a lot of time, as I said, they might stay in the fridge as a healthy snack for people to eat. But in Turkey also, we have this tradition of like an afternoon tea. A lot of the ladies, the amount of women that are in the workforce is still relatively low in Turkey. About 30% of the women actually have jobs. A lot of them are housewives taking care of children. So a lot of these ladies will have visits with their friends, their social visits with their friends. And during those afternoon teas, they'll have a bunch of different pastries, some of them sweet, etc. And they don't want to have everything just sweet. So a lot of times this lentil balls, it's a staple in those kind of afternoon teas. They'll have put 1 or 2 on everybody's plate, along with some other pastries. And then they will actually eat it with hot black tea in like a late afternoon. So I'm just gonna make some shredded cheese real quick. You guys might be hearing my dog bark. I put him down in the basement with my son, but he's already bored probably. So starting to bark from the basement. All right, that's about enough. There you go. So tonight I told my son and my husband to, stay quiet and get out of the way. But normally I'm actually so lucky. When I cook, my husband is running around the kitchen and he cleans after me. So he does all the cleaning when we have guests. He's the one that washes the dishes, and while I'm cooking, he's, cleaning the pots and pans over there. But today I got him out of the way, so things might be piling up in my sink right now. So our roasted eggplant is almost done. To that one, I'm just going to add about a cup of shredded mozzarella. But this probably has a lot of calories in it, okay? When we have guests, when we're entertaining guests in the house, things get a little bit out of the way. Okay, mixing the cheese in here.
Brad is saying, yeah, your husband, he can do the cleanup later.
Yes, he will get to do that if he wants to eat the food. All right. So this essentially is ready to. I will get this out of the way real quick. Oh, let me see where my is. All right, maybe I will put it in here and cover that. So it's up to, how you serve it. You can create individual plates or put this in the center with the meat later on. For now, I'm just putting it in the spot to get it out of the way, really. I'll create individual plates later. So I don't want this to get cold. I will cover that with a lid. So we can go back. Everything else is almost ready. We can go back to our lentil bowls. It's cooler right now. So I'll wash my hands once again really well. So now it only gets fresh ingredients into our lentil bowls. These are again green onions this time, chopped. I used about 5. All of these, some of it is a preference thing, trial and error as you make the lentil balls. If you like it more with the scallions, you can put more. If you like it less, just put less. So I have about 4 or 5. I have about 1 cup of chopped parsley. That's another thing. Like for Canada or the US, same thing. I can guarantee you almost every Turkish immigrant falls for this. In Turkey, we don't use cilantro. And the parsley that we have in Turkey is similar to Italian parsley, but slightly smaller leaves. So it actually looks very similar to cilantro. We don't have the curly parsley in Turkey. So every Turkish immigrant, when they come to North America, by mistake, they will buy cilantro one day and use cilantro in the recipe instead of a parsley. And we're not used to that taste. So most people will not like it. I personally am okay with it, especially in Mexican food, but not in the Turkish cuisine. In Turkish cuisine, we are parsley people. So I'm going to add fresh parsley. half a lemon juice. And this one we did not put salt, so I will put some salt. Again, salt to your liking, hey? How much salt you like? And I'm gonna use my hands now. Mix it up. The mixture is now, it's not too hot anymore, but be careful, hey, when it's I mean, when you take it off the stove and the bulgur wheat is cooking in the steam, this thing might be quite hot still, so be careful. Wait until it cools off really well. And again, in terms of the amount of tomato paste or pepper paste that you want to put it, every family and every lady that I know, they have a slightly different variation of this recipe. So it's going to be to your liking. How much lentils you like with this, how soft it is or harder it is, how much spice you like, how much cumin you like in this. It's going to be perfected in time to your liking. So the one that I'm showing is kind of the basics, but you can play around with your own spices and decide whether you like it with more cumin, whether you like it with some more hot pepper. I'm mixing it up right now. Not bad, pretty good. See? Just put a little bit. See if I need to put anything else in it. Not bad, it's pretty good. If you wanted, as I said, more spicy, you can add some crushed red pepper, or as I said, you can add, if you have the spicy pepper paste and you like that redness and the pasty flavor, you can add increase the pepper paste in it if you like. So that's about it. And what we're going to do, it's mixed already. So I'm going to get my plate. Let me get this closer to you so you see what it looks like. All right. So it's my lentils mixed with the fresh veggies. We're going to, they're called balls, but they're more like balls from CFL, hey? American football or Canadian football, not the round balls necessary. But even that, if you like them to be like regular balls, knock yourself out. You know, you can do whatever shape you like. So basically, we're just going to make these little balls out of this whole thing right now. And from a serving standpoint, if you want to decorate it, usually when we serve this to our guests on a plate, we lay them on a bed of lettuce. So when you eat it, you eat it inside the lettuce. At least I'll use my cleaner hand. There you go. Like that. Those are lentil balls. So mine are a little warm right now. I'm going to prepare these lentil balls and then put them aside. As I said, I can put them in a closed container and they will last. Just don't leave them unopened, either stretch film or a closed container. Otherwise they will get drier as they wait. But these will last about 2-3 days as healthy snacks in your fridge. So let me finish this. I don't know if anybody else has any questions. We're almost done now. I'm ready to serve. My lamb stew probably is almost ready. I'll continue to make my lentil balls. My friends, in Canada, I've been living in Canada for 10 years. There hasn't been a Canadian that did not like these ones. So the lentil balls are quite popular when I make them and take them to work. They're quite yummy. I'm not really going to finish doing this whole thing. You guys don't have to watch me do about 50, 60 lentil balls. But if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. So I'm not even half done. This makes a lot of little snacks. I already have about 10, 15 of them, I think. So from this batch, this recipe, at least 50, maybe 60 pieces of lentil balls will come out actually. I'll just go wash my hands and see how our stew and rice looks like right now. So I'll put this aside, finish it up later. And again,
There's a question for you, Sim. Somebody was asking, what if you don't have a pressure cooker? How do you go about?
Oh, if you don't have a pressure cooker, that's the thing. It's the same process. Just have a regular pot with a pretty tight lid. It just needs to cook. I mean, like we're done half an hour. I'm going to turn it off right now. If you're making the lamb that way, it might take about an hour to actually become soft and ready. So again, boil everything, same process, cover the lid, and then turn it to like a low heat and let it simmer for about an hour. It will just increase the cooking time.
Okay.
So I'm good. Little trick with the pressure cooker. I can't open it right now, so I'll use some cold water. Put it under cold water real quick. This. My husband has a lot of cleaning behind me, eh? He needs to
Yeah.
clean after me. That's our role in the house. Okay, so this one is ready. And let me get. Okay. So again, to the camera, I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, I'm sure Instapot, like exactly. If you're comfortable and you're used to those, you're fine. So as I said, I hadn't put any salt in this before. So to your liking, again, like I'm using one half of teaspoon, I think right now, but to your liking, you can add salt and mix it up. And my rice is ready, so I'm going to lift up my paper towel, get it out of the way.
So Brad is saying, he's sure an Instapot would work just as well because he's scared of using pressure cookers.
Exactly. If you're comfortable with Instapot, it will work with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So my rice right now, I'm just going to mix that. It has rested well. amount of veggies you put in it, as I said, you can add the corn if you like corn. In terms of a ratio, if you like the rice with more veggies, add more of the veggies, that's fine. And we have various different kinds of rices. This is just one. One of my favorite ones, actually, in my home city, Bursa, chestnuts are a big thing. We have chestnut candies, chestnut everything, chestnut cake, etc. So our rice, special rice for New Year's dish, will be rice with black currants and chestnuts and pine nuts. It's a mixture of that. And that one will have like an allspice and cinnamon type of mixture in it. And we call that like the New Year rice. That's what my mom used to make. But for today, we have the veggie one. A little serving trick I like to make. This cup, nice shape. I'm going to do that in. Put it on the plate, like that. And my roasted eggplants. Get that to the side. I'm creating a bed of the roasted eggplants on the side. And we'll put some of my lamb stew on top of it. Go. And maybe add a couple of our lentil balls to the side for decoration. There you go. Voila. That's roasted eggplants, Hunkar Begendi. His Majesty liked it. And veggie rice and lentil balls for you.
That
Thank you
looks
for
delicious.
watching.
I'm getting hungry here.
And we did all this in 90 minutes, also while talking.
Yeah.
And although, you know, a lot of the chopping and things like that, I did that earlier today. Those lasted about half an hour. So in 2 hours, this would be considered one of the, let's say, entertainment dishes. It's not necessarily something you cook really, really fast. But when you have guests, this would be something like you would make. Thank you, Afra. Okay. And let me taste it, hey, to see. I don't know. I can't pass it on through Zoom, unfortunately. That technology is not available yet. But I will have some for my colleagues, of course, tomorrow. But let me see if I did a good job. The lentil balls tasted well. So I love roasted eggplants. And very good. The lamb is very soft. And eggplants. That's, I mean, Italian cuisine and Greeks use eggplants a lot too. But eggplants in Turkey, we have many, many dishes. Thank you, Judy. Thank you. So with eggplants, I mean, pretty much every dish, every vegetable, that's another thing about Turkish cuisine. A lot of the vegetable dishes that we make tonight, you know how I showed you with the meat base, you can add the vegetables in that and you make kind of a vegetable stew. Every vegetable that we use, there is the version that you cook with the meat and it's served hot. And there's also the version that you cook without meat at all. The same onions and tomatoes again, cooked with lots of olive oil, and then you add some form of vegetable in it, like the green beans in there. You use garlic and very mild spices, and then you put it in the fridge because, as I said, in the southern climates, it gets pretty hot. So we eat those kind of veggies cold. That's our diet most of the time in the summer. I'm missing a few of the comments, so they disappear on my page. So maybe you can read them for me, Farai.
There's one from Kauru asking, do you ever use Zata? I don't know how to pronunciate that
What
correctly.
is spell that for me?
It's spelled as Zataar.
No, Zatar. It's more of a Middle Eastern, and I mean maybe southeastern Turkey. They might. That's the thing I mentioned in the beginning. With the long history of the Ottoman Empire and the connections with so many different cultures, the remnants of that in different parts of Turkey, we have very different traditions of the kinds of spices or things that we use. Where I grew up on the western side of Turkey, northwestern side, again, mostly because of the climate. It's humid and things like that. So we would eat a lot of the vegetables, the cold vegetables, not that much meat. And it's a stew. We eat it with bread, but not the heavier stuff with the pidas and the kebabs and things like that. I never, like, for me in Turkey, all these Turkish restaurants, a lot of people go in Edmonton, like Turquoise and things like that. That kind of food in Turkey, we only eat outside. We don't make it at home. The kebabs, you just go out to eat the kebab, and at home you cook this kind of stuff. But there were a few more comments. Go ahead.
There's Iram was asking, can you order this dish in Edmonton at a restaurant?
This dish, I'm not sure whether Turquoise or those might have it, but the downtown restaurant Sofra might have this because they have a wider variety of these kind of dishes. But if anybody is interested, there are actually some ladies in Edmonton that are doing home catering. A lot of them have obtained food science, like food safety certificates, etc. So the Turkish Canadian Society.ca website actually has a section called links, and they have links to all these home-based catering ladies. So you can actually order from them. And a lot of them, the ones that say they offer home cooking, if you told them you want this, they would make it for you.
The next one is just somebody saying bravo. Mili said bravo, meaning you did a very good job there.
Thank you.
And Karen was saying, just for your own info, I found about this on Facebook, so we're visible. Yeah, and she also,
that's great. That's great.
She also asked something else. Let me go down here. And if you were in Turkey, would you be using mozzarella, that's the cheese, in the eggplant?
Mozzarella, yeah. The base that I made for the Hunkar Begendi, yes, for that one exactly. Mozzarella in Turkey, we don't call it mozzarella, we call it kaşar peyniri, but it's essentially pretty much the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, and Rita was saying, thank you very much, Sim. It was very interesting and informative session. And Jim said, a visual treat. I regret not getting to taste it for taste.
Yeah, I'll have some in the office tomorrow. I made extra if anybody wants to stop by. Sure, at the EIC, yes. Yeah, and then we'll have, hopefully once the pandemic is over, everybody, if anybody's still sticking around, our whole idea and goal, we actually were thinking of having these cooking sessions and cooking classes right at the EIC with the EIC kitchen and have a chance to get together and eat together Thursday evenings. Unfortunately, the pandemic has put a stop to those, but hopefully once we get vaccinated and things get better, we'll get to do that in the future, and I promise I'll make it again.
Okay, and Millie says it smells amazing, especially with mint, which we don't usually cook with. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we're done. We don't necessarily have to wait until 7. I don't want to keep people busy unless they have questions. We can sign off for now.
Okay. Yeah, there was a few things that people said, but as you say, Iram said, I'm interested in the home catering. Thank you, Sim, for sharing. Tigis said, thank you. Looks very yummy. And Brad
Oh,
said,
I think yours were very yummy too. I love the Eritrean Ethiopian food.
Brad said, great demonstration and very informative representation of your culture. And Michelle also says thank you. And I
Thank
say
you.
thank
Thank you
you
for
too.
joining us.
And I say thank
All
you
right.
too.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great
Yeah.
evening.
I just want to say this, this was great. Just for next week, what we have lined up is indigenous cooking where everybody can learn how to make bannock. And apparently on the menu, there's elk and bannock and a raspberry dish. So that's same time next week, Thursday, 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
looking forward to that too.
Yeah, no, I'm really
All
looking
right,
forward to that.
everybody.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.